Hi, I'm James Blower, an Enterprise Solutions Engineer here at Veeam, and today I'm going to show you Veeam Backup for Microsoft Azure version 7. Specifically, I'm going to show you the process of restoring Azure VMs from one account to a completely separate account or tenant. I'm going to go through the setup and then how the actual restore works, and then a little bit around the single pane of glass management that we get in Veeam Backup and Replication. So first of all, just a bit of a high level overview. This is what a typical backup for Azure would look like. We have our main backup and replication server, then we deploy our Veeam Backup for Azure appliance over here in the Microsoft Cloud. Now the main VBR server can be on premise or can be in cloud in Azure. Mine happens to be. Then we've got our Azure components, and what I've actually got on for my lab for the purpose of today looks a little bit like this. So I've got some VMs already in my Veeam SE tenancy, the green one on the left. I've got my personal NBS tenancy with NBS MUKS-ADS01 and -Lino1, and I actually want them over in the Veeam account Veeam tenancy. Again, I've got my Veeam Backup and Replication server VM, and I've got my Veeam Backup for Azure, and we're going to go ahead and restore them. So our final product will look like this with the ADS01 and Lino1 over on the Veeam account. Finally, like I said, I'll finish up with just a view of what that all looks like in the Veeam Backup and Replication console, and show a little bit of this data freedom, multi different accounts and locations, AWS, Azure, and on-premise VMware VMs, all being managed in that same management console. So if I jump over now, and we see this is my NBS account and tenancy. You see I'm logged in here as NBS. Go to virtual machines. My NBS tenancy, we can see as described Lino1 and ADS01 VMs currently here. I now go to the Veeam tenancy, which conveniently is a different color scheme, so I can tell the difference. And we go to our virtual machines here. If I search for NBS, we'll see there is currently no VMs with NBS in the Veeam tenancy. And my usual naming convention is JBUKI. So these are some of the existing VMs that I've got. For example, my VBR VM, I've got a file server and a Lino1. So I'll jump into the Veeam Backup for Microsoft Azure console. And I just want to start, this is the dashboard that we'll typically get. And if I go to configuration and to accounts, my servers accounts, this is what is key. So I've got my Veeam Backup for Azure POC service account, and I've got my NBS Azure service account. And the reason this is so key is because when we go to do our restore, we're going to choose our account, and based on the permissions our account has got is how we're going to be able to choose which region and which resource group do we want to restore those VMs to. So that's the configuration at the back end of the accounts to give us our multi-account, multi-tenancy. Now if I come out of the configuration and go to our policies, our backup jobs, we can see I've got an NBS Gold VMs backup job, which has got the mentioned VMs, ADS01, Lino1. And if we just take a look, we can see that ADS01 was backed up just after 9 PM this evening. And we can see that was successful. If I click on the success, I can see some of the steps that were taken and the immutability period that was applied and a few other steps. But essentially we can see that's been backed up. Now what I want to do is go to my protected data. So this is slightly different. So this is showing us the VMs it's aware of rather than the jobs and what restore points I've got. So here we can see clearly, because I've used a different naming convention, we can see the two JBUKI VMs and the two NBS VMs that we want to look to restore and move over to our other account. So if I just select these two and hit restore, because I've selected two, the disk restore and file level restore are grayed out. If I just selected one, I'd have those options when I want to do the two. So Lin01, ADS01 will go ahead and restore. We can see the specified VMs in our restore job. We'll go next. Now, as I mentioned, when we did look at the configuration, this is where we choose our account. So I'm going to choose my Veeam account because I want to actually restore into the Veeam tenancy. We go next. Now we don't have the option to restore to original location because that Veeam account I've selected doesn't have the right permissions. What we can do is actually choose a new location. We've got our Enterprise SE Restore to Azure subscription, which is the subscription I want. Now there's only one. If there were more under that account, then we could select it, but I only have the one on there. And then we can choose our region. Now the region that NBS that those VMs were in was actually UK South. Just as a reminder, if we just have a look, we can see, yep, they were in UK South. Now in Veeam, we can see that most of my the VMs I have are UK West in Cardiff rather than London. So actually, I think I want to restore into UK West to be with where most of my subnets and rules are already set up. So I'm going to select UK West as the region. Now we're going to specify some of the settings because we might want to change the name, and we're going to go ahead and specify some other settings next, but let's just choose NBS Lin01, hit edit. This is where we can be a bit clever in terms of the spec. If perhaps in the NBS I may have overspec'd or underspec'd them, this is a good time now to go ahead and resize. Perhaps my Lin01 actually only needs 4 gig of RAM, it didn't need that much. I can go ahead and choose my resource group that I want it to go into in that particular account and region. So I actually want my JBUKI resource group. And we'll hit apply on there. Do the same for the ADS server, so we hit edit. This one's actually an okay machine size, so I won't change that. I'll specify my resource group again. And then now, for the purpose of this, I'm going to just give these a name of their original VM name, but restored from NBS. This is just for the purpose of the demo. What I would normally do is I would rename that VM to meet the naming policy in that account and in that region I'm using, which would normally be something like JBUKI-M and then the region. But for this demo, we'll keep its original name and just append restored from NBS. Apply that. Shouldn't have used an underscore, sorry. I should know better than to use underscores, apologies. Same for the ADS01. And then we'll go to next. We can select the disks and actually give them a slightly shorter or more useful name. Now we'll change the network settings to match the new account region that we're putting them into. So we'll choose our virtual network, choose the correct subnet, and relevant security group. Do the same again for the other VM. because again, as we're restoring them, they may want to go into different networks or different subnets. In this case, the same is fine for me. Same security group. Now we've got this warning because the public IP address is different. We're going to a different region, so I expect that. We may need to change some of our rules if these were public-facing websites, but it's absolutely fine. We'll just make a note of them when they're restored. Give it a reason if you want. You don't have to. It's good for the audit log. And then we'll go ahead and hit start. Now, if we go to we looked at policies, protected data. If we look at our session log, we can see our restores are actually running. And if we were to look at the overview page again, we can see what's running now. And running now, click into that, we can see exactly the 2 jobs that are currently running. We can see that one of them has completed now in just over 2 minutes. So we're just waiting on the second one, Lino 1. So our second restore is now completed. We can see that we've got our Lino 1 complete. So if we go back to my Azure console, we can now see that I've got my 2 Lino 1 restored from NBS and ADSO1 restored from NBS VMs sat here in my Veeam tenancy, all restored and ready to go. And if we have a look now at my Veeam Backup Replication server, now I'll just show you in backup infrastructure, I've got my managed servers and I've got my Veeam Backup for Azure appliance. Go to home and jobs. We can actually see sorted by type. I've got AWS EC2 jobs. I've got my FSX job, RDS, VPC. I've got some normal VMware backup jobs, a continuous data protection job, Linux agent for a physical machine. Then I've got Azure Files, Azure SQL, and we've got some more VM backup jobs and Shore backup jobs. So single pane of glass, I can see my AWS jobs. I can see as well, if I go to applications, I can see I've got a SQL plugin job there. But we can also go to our last 24 hours. And if we go down a little bit, we can see our the NBS ADSO1 job and Lino 1 job. And if I double click on them, I can see the start and finish times and what that job did from my actual Veeam Backup Replication console. And then finally, if we want to, because the Veeam Backup Replication console is the controller and it's aware of our Veeam Backup for Azure, should we ever need to, if I go to my external repository, I can see those 2 VMs that we were just talking about. We can also see my other Azure VMs. So for example, this JB FSO1, we could actually instantly recover that into my VMware on-premise estate should I want to. Select a host. Choose a write cache. Do we want to content scan it? It's my lab, so I don't need to. This is where you'd be able to do a secure restore and ensure that the restore point is clean of malware. Give it a restore reason. And normally we would connect to network and power on. I'm not going to for now for my lab. And then we can go ahead and let that instant recovery run. So we can see it's connected to host, it's mounted the backup files, and now it's just registering the VM into VMware. And now that's mounted, we can see in our instant recovery here, we have the VM. And then we have the choice, if you wanted to stop publishing or migrate to production. So this is literally live, it's available, running from my backup storage. And just to show you in VMware vCenter, there is the VM. As I mentioned, I didn't choose to power it on, but I could have done and could have had the storage. So I'm happy with that. So now I'll just, for the purpose of the test, I'm just going to go and stop publishing it. But that just shows how easy it is to do an instant recovery and use that data freedom to bring a VM back from an Azure backup and bring it on-premise onto VMware should you ever want to. And to summarize, we have now we looked at the single pane of glass for VBR. We have looked at moving some VMs from my NBS Azure tenancy over to the Veeam one, and we'll just have one final look. So we see those NBS restored from NBS VMs in my Veeam Azure tenancy. So just as a reminder, we moved them from NBS and we've restored them over to that Veeam tenancy. We've seen our single pane of glass, and that is it. Thank you for watching.